Okay. Good morning, everyone. I am Jaime Elizondo from Real Wealth Ranching, and today I invited Dr. Diego Martinez, who has specialized in nutrition and helping people to get cured or improve their health by feeding or giving them grass-fed or pasture animal products. So Diego, please introduce yourself and tell us a little about what you do and where you come from.
Thank you, Jimmy. Thanks a lot for the invitation. It's really an honor to be in this speaking to your audience, and it's special thanks to you. Well, yeah, I was formed as an MD a couple of years ago, and then after that, I did an incursion in the CrossFit world. I built a brand here in Mexico. I was the first license in Mexico. And I learned a lot about exercise. With that, I made a lot of certifications. And then I went into, I kept studying medicine, and I went into my specialty, which is obesity and comorbidities. Then I did an MD, a master's degree in nutrition. And after working a couple of years, I went into functional medicine and just specializing in that. And that is mostly what I do. I'm into regenerative medicine now, which is practically a mix of, there's a couple of other things, but it's pretty much the same. It's just a lot of nutrition below, and it mixes many of the disciplines in the medical world that are mostly not allopathic.
I like the name regenerative medicine because we try to do regenerative grazing, and in real wealth ranching, we want to create real wealth where health, human health, is one of the things, of the three things you need to build up real wealth. You need time to spend your money. You need the money to make it, to have, and you need the health to enjoy it. If you miss one of those three, money, time, free time, or health, you will not have real wealth. So that's why I think it's so important, the health aspect. And that's why I want you to tell us about it.
Absolutely. I mean, I couldn't agree more with that trifecta. That's also, I mean, we could substitute perfectly instead of wealth, health. And it's, I mean, also for me, for real health, you need the wealth. So it's fantastic, this trifecta.
Yeah. Okay, so you prepare a PowerPoint for us, a therapeutic food. That's very interesting because we are used to buy the cheapest food we can, and the quality suffers, and then we need to spend a fortune on medical bills. So if you could tell us a little about how we could save on that and have a more pleasant life.
Absolutely. Okay. So I will start this. I call this presentation therapeutic food. I found it was like the best name, and this is really the pharmacological effects and our inside effects that food has, which is called nutrigenomic, and the high quality especially, which is high regenerative grazed animals. Mm-hmm. Okay, so this is some of the topics I would like you to know, or hormonal stability and the nutritional content, the myths and all of the BS that has come out since like the 60s or after that, and all of this story that the lipids are wrong and all of this. So we'll get into science over there. And then the nutritional quality and some important things. And after that, this pseudo meat and all of this other story. So that's pretty much where I'm going to try to cover.
So when you say, go back, please. When you say hormonal stability, RBGH free meat, what does that mean?
That's recombinant bovine growth hormone.
Oh, the one they inject to the dairy cow so they get more milk.
Exactly.
Oh, okay.
That is much more. It's not on the. I mean, I'm not that familiar. You're much more familiar.
I am. Yeah.
So I believe that is much more on dairy cows.
On dairy, yeah. And
And
it does increase their metabolism and the growth hormone. And so I prefer not to use any hormones. I agree totally with you. And I like your nutritional content and contributions, because you were telling me that inflammation is the leading cause of many ailments, right?
exactly. One of the, or if not the main difference between regenerative grazed and conventional or CAFO meat,
Yeah.
it's that one drives inflammation. It just fuels inflammation as like the most inflammation provoking way of eating. And when you have regenerative grazed, you take that away. And when you take away the inflammation, you take away obesity, hypertension, diabetes, lipid problems, inflamed lipid problems, which is the real heart or cardiovascular and neurovascular risk, and depression, Alzheimer's, many of the things that, or if not every one of the things that kill today, are inflammation derived, low grade inflammation.
Wow, that's so important. So I will let you continue. Yeah, go on. It's so interesting.
Yeah. So what I mean by balance and health in the endocrine system,
Yeah.
it's you need to keep as safe as possible from hormones that are not human derived or that are not bioidentical. You need to keep them out of yourself. It's not something healthy, especially in the doses like the dairy cows have. And that is not, I mean, for health or health wise, eating or having that dairy or that dairy products that have that, it's not healthy at all. And it messes up all of the excess.
I have a grass-fed dairy, and I would never put that hormone to them because it's so hot out there that it increases the metabolism of the cow, that hormone, and that makes them more heat prone. They cannot stand the stress of the heat. So they only do that on confined dairies and not on grass-fed dairies. That's important for the public to know.
Absolutely.
And many confined dairies are not doing it anymore because they're not making any money because of the stress it causes on the cow. Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
No, perfect. Thanks for that, for clearing that out. And yeah, I mean, just in like health wise, they're not ruled to put that on the branding or on the product. Like my product comes from this dairy that has a recombinant growth hormone.
That's
but
true.
Some of them might do. And
here in the States, most brands state that they do not use that. Yeah.
Okay, so that's good to know. At least that is good to know. But this can, it's proven to have an early onset puberty in teenagers, boys and mostly girls, because girls and ladies are much more sophisticated in the hormone. I mean, at least one more or two different hormones, so they're more sophisticated. And then when you hit any one of the hormones, every one of the hormones in the human body are on axis. So it's like putting this way, and then this needs to come this other way. So you need to balance the axis. It's not a straight line and 2 points. It's many points in between the beginning and the end. And if you take one farther to the left or to the right, the other one will balance. So you need to take care and be aware of that the hormonal balance is extremely exquisite and very delicate.
Okay.
So if you put one of the hormones, it will increase this IGF, and this is a driver of cancers. So with IGF, which is insulin-like growth factor, it was positively associated with the risk for both breast in women and prostate cancer in men. So, I mean, we need to keep that. You can keep it with healthy eating, mainly mainly healthy eating.
What is EGF-1?
IGF-1, the insulin-like growth factor, it's a growing factor for humans, and it mimics the insulin, like the anabolic effect of insulin. So it makes you growth everywhere. But when you don't need it, or when it's higher, you will you can drive the growth of a cancer or a tumor.
Wow. Okay, so it's a growth hormone.
Yeah.
And it's what they inject to the cows, the recombinant growth hormone.
Yeah,
The dairy cows,
Yeah.
that I hope they stop doing that. And I used to be a nutritionist for dairy cows, and I always advise them to not use it. It wasn't worth it. It didn't make them any more money in the long run. So I had many large dairies of 2,000 and 3,000 cows stop using it, and they got better profits. Okay, go ahead.
Nutritional content. There is many difference. These are just a few in between cattle meat or conventionally raised and regeneratively raised meat. So the protein digestibility, I will show an image. The absorption of the protein, because the protein is much better in the animal, is the way it should be by nature. You absorb it much better than in the vegetable protein. Mm-hmm. The iron balance, which is extremely different. I mean, semantically, you could get this saying by some actor or some famous person that, yeah, I do take mine from vegetables and I don't kill animals and all this bullshit. But but it's not like that. I mean, every iron molecule in vegetable is not heme iron, and we have hemoglobin. So you need that in the heme iron form. So it's different.
Okay.
And then vitamin K2, which is crucial. It's fundamental for bone health, calcium balance, not forming kidney stones. It's incredible. And the highest sources of K2 are in entrails, guts. And we'll see heart risk related with K2. The higher.
Okay. Wow. So that's a long, then it was liver or kidney. I want to translate it for the English.
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah. This
that's
one is the only one. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
This is long. These ones are kidneys. I mean, you know much better which one is ovine and which one is bovine.
Yes.
This is liver. This is thymus gland, brains. This is the spleen.
Spleen, yeah.
These are eggs, or
testicles.
Not eggs, the testicles.
Yeah.
And this is the pancreas.
Okay.
This is, I'm sorry, this is the only one I forgot to change.
No problem. No problem. Go ahead. Now we know.
Okay. And this is about the bioavailability of protein.
Yeah.
When we switch the source from animal to vegetable, it's dramatically different. Mm-hmm. There's a big leap here. That's why we are omnivorous, and we can be carnivorous with a very and be very healthy. Mm-hmm. So this is about bioavailability, and although tofu and soy and the people that argument that this is a very high protein, it's high a source of protein. Yes, it is, but it's not bioavailable. It needs to go through many processes for the protein to get into where it needs to be. That's a different story inside of us. We are very sophisticated machines, the most sophisticated. So
like the Eskimos in the original Eskimos, they survive only on animal meat and fat and fish. And then the Maasai in Tanzania and Kenya, they survived on milk, beef, and blood. And that's it, mostly. Of course, they ate something else a little, but I went there and I was with them, and they do consume that. And they are healthy, and they are the tallest of them all in that area. So that's very interesting. Go ahead.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
This is not exactly what you were saying, but it translates a little bit into this. So this is Murphy and collaborators went to search for this nutritional importance of the animal source.
Mm-hmm.
So when they have this this snack, it provided 38% of the calcium, 83% of the vitamin B12, and 82 of the riboflavin. When milk was included, just milk, it didn't have any high quality, or the quality wasn't checked, but it was included. But when ground beef was included rather than beef, look at these increases.
Wow.
86% in zinc, 106% in the cobalamin, and 26% in the iron. So it is even more nutritious. And if that it's on regenerative grazed or on this classical, honest, conscious way of raising an animal,
Yeah.
it gives much more nutritional content. With the same effort, you know about that. With the same effort, you get much more nutrition.
Well, not only that, you get a better end product for the consumer, but you also improve the soil on which your livestock are grazing on by doing a correct approach to grazing, which never goes to overgrazing. So you have strong and fat roots, and that holds carbon from the atmosphere into the soil, and that traps also water in the soil instead of water vapor in the atmosphere. So it all comes together, but the health part is what I'm very interested in right now. So please continue.
And this Bogiatsoglu, he did vitamin B12. I will show a slide that it's the most common nutrients in animal foods that are almost exclusively of animals.
Yeah.
And vitamin B12 is one of these, probably the most important one. And when you have low vitamin B12, it's a cause of brain atrophy. So if you want your brain healthy, eat B12. Many patients I have that are vegetarian or vegan, and they just, oh no, I want to be conscious with the animals and all of this story, they will start to suffer. Once
liver will help them, right? Liver?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's the biggest source. I will show it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Iron. So you have the soybeans, which is the staple protein source for vegans and vegetarians, and all of this is defend all of this story of green. And although it has iron, yes, look at it's even more than double when you go to liver.
Mm-hmm.
So
now the bioavailability of that iron, to me, that's what matters, because if you don't get it into your blood, you can have all the iron. You can eat nails for that. That's a lot of iron, but it will not get into your blood. And exactly. I just saw an example last week with a pregnant lady that she was taking iron pills, and her hemoglobin never went up until she started taking freeze-dried grass-fed liver. Then it went up.
This is very important what you're talking about, because there is people don't realize, and this is certainly not sold to the patients, because pharmaceutical industry cannot win out of this. So this is not talked to the doctors. This is not instructed to the doctors. It's very honest, it's very transparent, and it's very health driven. And pharmaceutical industry is not always like that. So when you are, even though, I mean, you can be eating a frying pan, which is iron cast pan. If you could eat that and you could absorb that, it will be magnificent.
Yeah.
But you cannot.
No, you cannot.
You need to have this iron in the way that your blood needs it, and that is in liver, and that is in meat, in organ meat, and in muscle meat.
Okay. Okay. Like there is a spinach, 1.4% bioavailability. And we saw cartoons as little kids that Popeye ate his spinach because it was very high in iron. Well, now we know the truth.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is almost animal exclusive. B12, which is in the first, cobalamin is one of the most important B complex vitamins, I'm sorry, because it's in charge of taking out many of the junk we produce or we ingest, and then getting rid of that. Cobalamin, it's a fundamental in this. B complex, it's also related to this getting rid of the toxins and all of that, the biotransformation. But cobalamin is one of the most important. And then choline and creatine is pretty much almost exclusive to animals. Carnitine and carnosine, which are very important in lipid metabolism and lipid transformation, it's exclusive from animals. Taurine also, it's a very important amino acid for neurodevelopment, neuroprotection, and it's exclusive from animals. And vitamin K2, it's also exclusive from animal sources. And the highest quality in grazing means the highest amount and the highest bioavailability.
That's why we want to build better soils through the correct management of our grazing animals, so we can get all of this at the highest level of bioavailability for the end consumer, or for the health of the animal first, and then for the end consumer. Because a healthy animal can give you profits. An unhealthy animal, not good for everyone.
Exactly.
Not good for the environment, not good for the world, not good for the consumer, not good for the owner. So no.
For anyone. I mean, it's the same cycle, but one is a vicious cycle and the other one is a virtuous cycle.
Perfect.
It's that same cycle.
Yeah.
One regenerates actually, which is the last, which is what you do. And it also does that with health. I always tell my patients that when you invest in this pharmacological product or in this heart, lung, liver, or kidneys, and then you cook it in a delicious way, you are also making that the producer can keep on doing that. You are guaranteeing that the animal is well treated, consciously treated, and terminated without pain or the least painful way. And you help yourself in an immensely different, much more healthful way when you ingest that. And the environment is, that, at least in my point of view, is the one that just gets incredible difference. I mean, you know about that, but it's
and
the whole
you see,
thing.
Let's talk about a cow. A cow can live 5-6 years if she's confined, or she can live 14-15 years if she's grazing. That's a cow that produces the calves. At the end of her life, she can be very good for us to consume, and her calves, her male-born calves, are mostly grown by sunlight, photosynthesis, and then we get to consume that bounty, and we get healthy. That's how the world works, the natural world works. It's not that animals in the wild, they die a peaceful death. It doesn't happen. So we can be good stewards of the land and give them a healthy life. many days of a good life and then a bad day. Yes, but that's the fact of life. That's part of the circle of life, as Disney would say. Okay, go on.
Exactly. This is exclusively for K2, but this was a very important, if not the most important, done until today, the Rotterdam study. And they measured a lot of things, but in this case, K2 being exclusively There's also phytoquinone, but menaquinone is the animal source, is the one that we need for our bones and our bone health and our calcium balance. And calcium is important in many things, not only bone health and teeth health, it's also in every single system, and for coagulation and less inflammation. It's a signal.
So menaquinone is another name for vitamin K.
Vitamin K2, yeah, which is the animal
great.
source.
Once
And
my wife had a tooth pulled and they couldn't stop the bleeding, and they had to inject her vitamin K to stop the bleeding, for the blood to clot. So that's it. Okay, great. But I didn't know all that importance with the bones and all that. I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's coagulation. It's because of an effect on calcium. Yeah, and the highest you have your levels, the closest to 32 micrograms per day, you will have less risk. So it's half of the risk.
Okay, very good.
In coronary heart disease, this is coronary heart disease.
Okay, interesting.
And then this is exclusively for aortic valve. When you have higher K2 levels, you have less aortic valve calcification because of the deposits of the calcium. That's how you make this calcification, of course. And if you make calcification in the aortic or any heart valve, and you make calcification in the kidney. So if you have low K2, even if you have a wonderful, fantastic nutrition, if you have low K2 by eating less organ meats, you will, or you are at risk of calcification. Wow. It could be on your valves, and it could be on your
kidneys.
On your kidneys, yeah. So it's important. Okay. Vitamin K2. Richest source, it's liver, 263. Look at the ribeye against liver.
Wow, liver,
and then an
is
egg yolk.
Yeah.
So liver is a rich, extremely rich source. Vitamin A, you cannot get more vitamin A from anywhere in the explored universe, except from liver. It depends on the animal. There's actually one in Inuits, precisely, that you were telling us about. If they eat too much polar bear liver, they could get this vitamin A-osis.
Toxicity, yeah, too much.
Because it's extremely high. It's the highest source, known source of vitamin A. But I mean, we won't have that problem. Polar bears are
no.
It's not in our places. I don't want to get deep into this, but I just wanted to see like this magical food, magical pharmaceutical, wonderful sort of drug. I mean, by having an effect on the body, is the liver. It's wonderful. It's full
now
of
the
nutrients.
liver is one of the filters of the body of the animals. The other one is the kidneys. So we want to make sure that they are animals that haven't been fed any growth promoters and no antibiotics and no hormones, so they will be healthier, right?
That is immensely transcendental, what you just said, because like the beef liver could have high, I mean, it's gonna be healthy because it's the liver. But if you eat it from a conventional or CAFO-raised animal, it will be like a super fast car, a hypercar, in an extremely crappy and deteriorated highway. So you will have this counter benefit effect.
Yeah.
So the real thing, the most important thing to do is be with, just eat regenerative meat and regenerative organ meat. That is the safest way. If not, it's like I always tell my patients, when you go into this sewage system, beef liver, calf or raised, is like this sewage content thing, because it's all of the draining of all of the anti-nutrients and of all of the toxins. It's going to be there, at least some remnants.
And what about liver? What about liver from poultry, from broilers? Is that good? If they have been out in the grass to detoxify and all that?
Any animal that it's been regeneratively grazed, the liver is a very rich source of vitamin, minerals. And this is controversial, but this is why the carnivore diet, it's you can be exclusively on an 80% based organ meat, 20 to 30% based meat or muscle meat, and you will thrive. You will be feeling extraordinary. I mean, there are Paul Saladino, which is he's a carnivore MD, and there are a couple of other people that have done this, and they live pretty much on a carnivore-ish diet, and they're extremely healthy people in many senses. So yeah,
I believe that.
So as I believe that cholesterol, many people despise this. Pharma industry it's responsible for this, but this should be called His Royal Highness Mighty Cholesterol, because it's that. I mean, we need cholesterol for our life. So in every one of in the surface of our cells, we have cholesterol. Everyone. If you're a mammal, you will have cholesterol in every one of your cells. If you don't eat it, you will suffer, and your brain will suffer, and your cells will suffer. Maybe not in the short term, but in midterm, you will know, and in long term, you will be demented. You will have dementia, or you will have many of the things that mess up your brain. They will be messed up. So cholesterol, it's very important.
I read that the brain was mostly made up by fatty acids or cholesterol.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
The highest percentage is actually cholesterol.
Of the brain.
Yeah.
Wow, so important. And they told us that we need to lower cholesterol and not eat cholesterol.
I'm getting into that. Yeah, continue. I'm getting into this
go on.
BS science that was told to us. So the real science.
Okay.
A few bullets. Measuring total cholesterol, LDL and HDL, it's part of it, but these are just carriers. So if you base your nutrition on organ meat and muscle meat, very high quality, high nutrition, this is just half of the story. Measuring the carriers, you will need carriers, you will need transportation for these molecules, and it doesn't mean anything wrong. So it's not about how high are your levels of total LDL cholesterol, it's how inflamed they are. So high in LDL and total cholesterol is not always bad, and it can certainly be very healthy depending on where is it coming from. And low or normal cholesterol and LDL levels is not necessarily healthy, and it could represent high risk, certainly. Framingham study, Pure study, Minnesota Coronary study, which is incredible, Sydney Diet Heart study, and PREDIMED, Prevención con Dieta Mediterránea. They're big, robust, very important studies that they were made. Pretty much all of them, except PREDIMED, are causality studies. They're not association studies. They are experiments, and they're the most robust science-wise made studies. PREDIMED, it's just an epidemiological study, but it's big. So they all talk about this, the importance of cholesterol and being inflamed or not. And this is just to show you that LDL has protein almost as high as HDL, which is HDL, high density, is the good cholesterol, and LDL, which is low density lipoproteins, is the bad cholesterol. It's only bad when it's small dense, when this LDL is small dense, and I will show you here. So
Okay.
in this, the influence of dietary carbohydrate. So fat doesn't make you fat. There's a fantastic book that I will show at the end of this presentation by Dr. Mark Hyman. And the particle distribution and particle size in LDL or in HDL as in LDL, it's determinant for healthy, for the stickiness and for the atherogenic capacity or the embolic capacity.
Okay.
And this is how prone are you to have an cardiac infarction or a cardiac thing or an adverse event. So the size and density of the low density, which is small dense lipoprotein in LDL and in HDL, was related for cardiovascular disease. And if you increase your carbohydrates, your carbohydrates, which is badly done bread, badly produced bread, just extremely like when it is very highly processed,
Fat
grains
food.
and all of that,
Yeah.
Simple sugar, starches with high glycemic index, that is what drives inflammation. And we've told that no, you need to lower your fat intake and your cholesterol intake. You don't need to do that. What you need to do is lower your high glycemic carbohydrates, which I call carbohydrates, your sugar, your starches. You need to lower that. And once you lower that, you will be much more healthy.
That will reduce the triglyceride concentrations.
Yeah, also.
Yeah. That's what I have seen.
Triglycerides, triglycerides are always carbohydrate dependent.
Yeah.
They do not depend on you getting, you can eat lard, organ, you can eat pig
fat. Yeah.
Big fat, whatever
or
fat,
carnitas
dog fat,
or
If you don't need, or if you have a healthy, I'm sorry, I need to plug this.
Yeah,
to charge my. You can eat that, and your triglycerides would be extremely healthy. If you don't need this, a lot of tortilla and badly produced tortilla, and if you don't need a lot of grains or badly produced grains and extremely refined grains and all of this, you won't have any trouble with triglycerides. Alcohol also raises triglycerides, not fat.
Oh, okay.
Not
alcohol.
cholesterol.
Even red wine?
No, red wine it's very low on alcohol.
Okay.
And it has also other nutrients. So red wine is not bad. 1-2 cups a day. It's much better a low consumption of alcohol than a high consumption.
Yeah.
Then of course low is better than no consumption, and no consumption is of course better than high consumption. But the best is low consumption.
Okay, great.
Low carbohydrate diets.
Now, why don't doctors check the size of the particle of the LDL and HDL and only go for the total number?
Because the answer is very simple. Because there is no one pharmacological drug that can reduce the small dense, low density lipoproteins. There is not just one. You do it by food.
What about statins? Don't they reduce that?
They reduce every single one. And I will show that when you reduce that, the more than 60% of the infarctions, of the problems in the coronaries on the heart, have normal lipid levels, normal cholesterol levels in the United States. So it's not about lowering the cholesterol, it's about lowering the inflammation.
Yeah.
And you inflame it by carbohydrate consumption.
Yeah.
This is the Minnesota coronary study experiment, and this is incredible. This was done with in the 60s, from 1968 to 1973, and this is the recovered data. This was hidden from the people, and it was this experiment showed that if you lower cholesterol, you have poorer health and you have higher cardiovascular risk. And they hid this so that they could put all the low-fat times and all of the low-fat story could come out.
Which was a low-fat, high-carbohydrate diet.
Exactly. If you lower the fat, you need to increase the carbs.
And the food pyramid that now we know is entirely flawed.
Yeah, and that's what really drove the diabetes epidemic. That really is a huge pandemic. Diabetes, it's everywhere in the world. Mexico is the highest child diabetes country in the world.
They started calling child diabetes, diabetes 2. Because before, children did not get diabetes because it was called adult diabetes. And now children are getting it. That's because of change in diet. Exactly. So this will be recorded for you, my friends, and you can see it later again, many times if you want to. Go on.
There was no evidence of benefit in the intervention group for coronary atherosclerosis or myocardial infarcts. No evidence. They switched the cholesterol in lard, in animal fat, for safflower oil, and there was no evidence of benefit, none at all. And this was made. This cannot be done anymore in this planet, because this was done in 5 mental institutions and 5 different asylums. 5 mental institutions and 1 asylum, 1 or 2 asylums, and they controlled the food. They controlled every single molecule of food they ate. Right now, today, you cannot do that unless you do it with people in prisons or people in hospitals. But they won't do it because it's extremely. You take away a lot of from pharma industry.
Yeah, that's not permitted.
Yeah, they won't allow it because it's massive. This is the reason this was hidden. So these cholesterol lowering interventions showed no evidence of benefit on mortality from heart disease or all-cause mortality. You don't need to reduce your cholesterol. What you need to reduce is your sugar. That definitely you need to. And the conclusions of these authors were replacement of saturated fat in the diet with linoleic acid effectively lowers serum cholesterol, but does not support the hypothesis that this translates to a lower risk of death, neither coronary or all causes. And when they published, this had 21 countries in the experiment. They published the only 7 that said 7 countries out of the 21 said that raising your cholesterol was adverse for your cardiovascular health. So they only published that, and they hid 66% of the results.
So they only took 1/3 that was according to what they wanted to show.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. And this incomplete publication, of course, led to the overestimation of benefits. And this was all planned. I mean, this is not just pure casualty. Absolutely. This was all planned.
Okay.
Sydney Diet Heart Study. Replacing dietary saturated omega-6 linoleic acid with replacing saturated fat, with omega-6 linoleic acid. What happened with this replacement was substituting linoleic acid in place of saturated fat increased the rates of death from all causes, coronary heart disease and cardiovascular disease. It showed no evidence. Minnesota and this Sydney Diet Heart Study was also done in the 66 to 73 years. But this was rechecked after that. And this was an experiment. This was really an experiment. It wasn't just observation. And what they found out was no evidence of cardiovascular benefit. You do not need to lower your cholesterol. You need to increase it. On the 70s, having 330 of cholesterol was normal. Total cholesterol, 330 milligrams per deciliter, was normal. Today, that will mean, you'll have at least 5 pharmaceutical drugs. Today's 200.
So they changed the baseline to accommodate to what they wanted.
Exactly. So
even though the evidence is the contrary.
Yeah, they hide this evidence, and they make you more prone to infection and more prone to chronic diseases, and they know that. Of course.
Let's go on. I want to know how to fix that.
Yeah. This is the pure study. It's also higher saturated fat intake was associated with lower risk of stroke. Total fat and saturated and unsaturated fat were not significantly associated with the risk of myocardial infarction or cardiovascular disease mortality. So if you increase your fat, it's not the problem. It's the sugar. It's the glycation.
Okay.
This was almost 300,000 people in Asia. This is a lot of people, an extremely big study. This was observational, but it came out with with very incredible conclusions. So pooled analysis did not provide evidence of a high risk of mortality for total meat intake. And this was with meat, not with organ meat, but pretty much with muscle meat. It didn't matter if it was red meat, poultry, or fish. An inverse association. You eat more of that, less of carbohydrates, and you will be healthier in the cardiovascular system. So red meat intake was inversely associated with cardiovascular disease mortality in men and with cancer mortality in women in Asian countries.
I read
the same species.
I read that the population that consumes more beef, more meat per capita per year is Hong Kong, and they have very low rates of heart disease.
Yes.
So yeah, that proves it.
Yeah, exactly. This was Hong Kong based, Japan, Korea, United States, but Hong Kong was a big part of this. And it's the healthy user bias or the unhealthy user bias. Like we are told that in United States, people have a lot of barbecue and they eat a lot of meat, which is cattle raised, and they drink a lot of beer or they drink a lot of spirits, but they drink a lot and they smoke and they sleep bad and they do not exercise. And that is not meat-related disease. That is a lifestyle-related disease. So it's not the meat fault. It's the lifestyle fault.
I understand. Yeah.
Okay. In this, I'm sorry because of this. This is the profile of fatty acids.
Okay.
And omega-3 and omega-6 in regeneratively grazed, it was 1-to-1.
Wow.
Like from 300,000 to 3 million years ago, before all of the domestication of the agriculture. And this is also right now, today, it could be 1-to-1 if you eat regeneratively grazed today.
Yes.
If you eat cattle grazed, it's like 6-to-1 omega-6, which is inflammatory, 14-to-1. Some people say 40-to-1. So that's extremely inflammatory. And you don't feel it. You won't feel anything.
And that's only in the beef, but if you also consume all those processed foods that are very high in corn syrup and vegetable oils, then the omega-6 go way up and the omega-3 keeps very low, and you end up with 40-to-1 ratios, which is very bad for your health.
Exactly. So after all of this science I just showed you, the lethal oils, and like I like to say, it's a suicide by pinching yourself. Suicidio a pellizcos. Yeah. Cotton, canola, safflower, sunflower, maize, and soy are lethal. You won't feel it, but they will kill you. Every sip of it will kill you. Every drop of it, it's inflammatory. It's very hard to take oil out of this. Very hard. It's much easier to take some oil or fat from an animal. That's how it is designed. This is by design. And the profile in the fatty acids is much more healthy, much healthier. It's monounsaturated and saturated fat, which are much less prone to oxidation. And oxidation in the fatty acids, it's what drives the mutations in your DNA, production of some very toxic residues in your DNA and in your cells. So don't eat these oils.
Now, grass-fed beef and organs are high in omega-3 because they consume green grass, and the green grass is high in omega-3, as is seaweed, and that's why fish products and krill and all that are high in omega-3.
Exactly.
But sometimes we can get it better from our organ meats from livestock and from animals raised on green grass. That's what gives you the best health.
Exactly. That's why it is so different. I mean, not all the animals are produced the same, and not all the animals will have the same effect. And you are what your animal ate.
Now, let's say I don't have a budget to buy grass-fed beef because it costs a little more, or I cannot find it. And all I can find is grain-fed beef. What should I do? Should I go vegan and consume all the other stuff, or consume the beef that I can? Which will be best for my health?
No, it would be better to find trimmed or no fat, low fat cuts and consume that. If it's a grain fed, avoid the fat, which is where most of the toxins and the residues of pesticides, herbicides, antibiotics are stored, and just eat trimmed magra. How do you say?
Lean beef.
Lean, exactly.
Yeah. What about the ribeye that has marbled fat in it?
Well, in human, the marbleization of your muscle, which happens in every animal, or in every mammal, it's an inflammation sign.
Oh.
So eating this marbling, it might be delicious, but it's an inflammation. It's something that doesn't happen naturally.
But wait. When we have our cows grazing on grass, they do marble.
Yeah.
They're delicious. Only grass, no grain.
Yeah, exactly. But that has a profile. I mean, that marbleization or that marbling of the meat, it's a healthy marbling. It's a high quality and high in omega-3 and low in omega-6.
Okay, so we can talk about healthy marbling and unhealthy marbling.
Exactly.
Oh,
and it depends on the food that your animal ate.
I didn't know that. And what about the bone marrow on grain-fed animals? Would that be good for you or not, to make a bone broth, for example?
Absolutely.
Even if they are fed grain?
No. If any of the entrails, any of the
bone marrow, the bones, to make soup with the bones.
No.
Could I use grain-fed bones? Because
no,
I cannot find here in Houston, Texas, any grass-fed bones. Only chuck roast. That's the best I can find. So the marrow is also not good?
No, I don't advise it.
Okay.
If it's grain-fed, it will be more inflammatory. I mean,
it's grain finished. When we say grain-fed, it means that the animal came from the pasture, but it finished for 60 to 90 days on a corral with grain. And that's what we want to avoid.
Yeah, because even if it's only 90 days, that provokes inflammation.
Okay.
And in the blood, I mean, it's in the blood. So if you eat this bone marrow, you could get inflamed. If you eat it once in a while, nothing will happen. I mean, it could be delicious. The flavor changes, of course, And if you enjoy it, do it once in a while. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. But it depends also on genetics and your capacity to excrete that and to metabolize this toxic.
No, we need to find a grass-fed bones. Yeah.
Yeah.
Even if I have to drive or I have to order it, I will get it.
Yeah. I mean, that is the best thing to do. Health-wise, it is the best thing.
Either I invest in my food now or spend a fortune in medical bills later.
That will always be.
Yeah.
You can make an investment in what you ingest, which is what's going to keep you flourishing. And or you could spend money in health system, which is the disease.
I prefer a longer life, healthy. I prefer that.
Yeah, and you could drive yourself. I mean, longevity is acquiring health through health. I mean, acquiring a long span through health span. So increasing your health span can increase your lifespan, but not the other way around. The other way around is really beneficial for the profit in the pharma industry. Increasing your lifespan by any means, but it's not the healthy one. The healthy one is just focusing on your health span, increasing your health as much as you can, and then that way you can increase your lifespan. And every single moment you're on this planet, you will enjoy a good, healthy life.
Yeah.
In every sense.
I like that.
Yeah. This is magic because it's sweat. I don't think this is regeneratively grazed, but I've never seen this in Mexico. We don't have that in Mexico. And beef sweat is the suprarenal gland fat, which is very high in nutrients, very dense nutrients.
Okay.
So this is incredible fat. I'm sure this is sold in United States. I've never seen it.
Now that's saturated fat that we have been warned not to use. But could you please explain to the public how saturated fats are not as bioavailable as unsaturated fats for our organisms?
Yeah, I mean, saturated fat is the main fat in most of the mammals. Well, not the main, but it's important for our life, for our cell membranes to be healthy. You need saturated fat.
Oh, then I was mistaken. So it's not bioavailability, it's that we need it.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah, absolutely. Okay. I mean, we need that. I mean, brain, it's high in saturated fat, human brain, for it to function, for the membranes of your veins and arteries and all of your cells, you need the saturated fat, and you need the high omega-3 fat, which is like marbling from eating grass gives you high omega-3. It's if you eat the butter of those animals, it's high in omega-3. And maybe flavor, you won't notice it, but it's much, much healthier, much more healthier.
Okay.
And trachea, but I just find these are for animals, but it would be fantastic. I mean, just salt them, pepper them, maybe lemon, and just try them. This is very nutritious. I mean, we should make sure that the healthier the grazing of the animal, of course, the more health it will give to you, the one that's eaten.
You know how I am. I use low-cost biological methods and go beyond organic. Our livestock never have any deworming, any chemicals applied to them or to the soil, any synthetic fertilizers. We do it all natural, not only because it's healthier for you, but healthier for the land. You improve your future productivity faster, and you earn more money, avoiding the cost of all those things. And you give your clients or your customers much higher quality food. So It all comes together. I love it.
That is the magic of regenerative grazing. That is what really made me be in love with this, because it's just extremely honest, extremely transparent, and as most natural as could be. I mean, this is just moving a little bit so just to be extremely efficient or making it more efficient, but it's just managing a little bit of the nature. Pretty much everything is nature like that. So it's just managing to be a little bit more, and that is beautiful.
Absolutely, we mimic nature, you know.
Exactly. We're getting into the environmental impact. So there was one extremely lame and sorry report by Food Agriculture Organization from the United Nations in 2006, which was called Livestock's Long Shadow. A very big BS thing that they said that 18% of the greenhouse gas emissions is produced by cattle, which is more than transport, right? Which is bull crap. And then Frank Mitloiner from the University of California, Davis, discovered the methodological error. So they said, okay, transport, if you put this on a plane and you go to this other point, it makes this amount of carbon or carbon monoxide or methane or whatever. And cattle makes this, which is more. But that was because they compared the cattle from being born, all that it took from the cattle to graze and to grow, and then the killing of the cattle, the termination of it, the transportation of the meat, the putting of the meat on the supermarket, all of that was calculated and included in this cattle greenhouse gas emission, which was not included in the transport. Because for the transport, you also need to calculate the mining of the iron, the mining of every single part of the electrical system, and the plastic that was made for the plane or the ship, like here, and the thing that was made for the transportation, and then all of the this fossil fuel that is burned with the transportation, and that also wasn't calculated. And then by land, maybe they need to take it by land. There's also fossil fuels and the transporting, and maybe a bus or a big trailer of that. So that wasn't put into the transport, and that is a lie, because you need to contemplate that also.
I am observing that the cows are burping. That's methane, right?
Yes.
Did you know that when cows are on living soil, that methane is taken into the ground by metagenetic bacteria that are not in the feedlots, and they are considering only the feedlots when they are grazing on live soil pastures? That doesn't happen. It's important to know that.
Absolutely. That is extremely transcendental. Yeah. I mean, this was done in the these accusations are done on CAFO produced meat, which is wrong. It's lame and sorry. Yes.
Yeah.
And that might be partially true, but when you produce in a regenerative way, it's absolutely different.
No, it's let me tell you, I have a student in Australia, in New South Wales, that he's capturing, the results just came in, at 12.5 tons of carbon dioxide per hectare in the first year. So we're not only not contributing to more greenhouse gases, but we are actually taking carbon and water vapor from the atmosphere and putting it in the soil. So that's the truth.
Exactly. That is the utmost truth. Yeah. So if you have this consumption, it will benefit massively your health, but also everything other is in the cycle for also your health, because it's your environment. So it's beautiful. Again, it's just fantastic. It's almost hard to believe, but when you read a little bit and you are in contact with people like you, Jaime, which is incredible, you get to know all of this, which every single human on earth should at least know, be told about this, because it's important. I mean, the amount of methane and greenhouse gases that could be captured, it's incredible. So I want to split this, and then Well, there's going to come in the next one, we will have this about the negative environmental impact, or I mean positive, or in the sequestration of the greenhouse gases. So Eat Lancet also in this lame and extremely sorry report, 14 or 30 pounds of beef per day, which is stupid. It's just very stupid.
How many ounces?
That
14 grams is more like
14
not
grams
even 1 ounce, not even 1 ounce of beef.
30 pounds.
Mm.
No.
14 grams is not even half an ounce.
Yeah, it's 1 ounce. No, 1 ounce is 30 grams.
There is 16 ounces in
half
one,
an ounce.
in 1
yeah,
pound.
It's half an ounce.
Half an ounce.
Half an ounce a day. So that's what Lancet, which is this highly prestigious medical journal. And of course, this was financed by Bayer, Cargill, Monsanto, all of these killers that are, they're killers, but they do something else, so they won't call it like that. They're the ones that pull the strings in the investigation, the big box investigation. And they're also the pharma. It's that same thing. And the population of ruminants has risen from 1999, and the methane concentrations have gone down. So it is not cattle driven. But this is not what they tell you, right? But this is important to know. And this is Food and Agriculture Organization from the United Nations. And it's also, this is, I think, the International Agency of Atomic Energy, IAEA. And it's incredible what ranchers and cattle producers do, not only in Mexico, but in the world, to just manage as much as they can water sources from rain. It's fantastic what they do.
Yeah, that's a group of ranchers in Mexico, Manejo Regenerativo de Ranchos, of which I am a founding member. And we gave the first course there with Johann Sitzman in 2013. And now they have over 2.5 million acres doing regenerative grazing, improving the soil.
So here it is. Out of the 3.7 that EPA says, Environmental Protection Agency, that it's greenhouse gas, only 1.9% really comes from the cattle. And transportation, it's 26.4. So that's almost at 13 times. That's at least 13 times more. So all of the BS, right? Here it is. I mean, you can go into the sites and you can
that's like a rancher, a farmer told one of those scientists, okay, if we produce the same amount of CO2 as transportation, I challenge you to stay in your car inside the garage all night long with it running, and I will stay in my garage with my cow all night long, and I'll see you in the morning.
Joel Salatin told us about it, and it's just like that. Why don't we bet? I mean, you should do with your car, and I do it with my cow. Someone would be extremely more healthy, and the other one might be cold. So typical beef. I'm sorry by the not having the colors, but natural rain, which is all of these mid-gray colors in the typical beef, and it's at least higher. So we take in the grass-finished beef, we have less from lakes and streams and underground, and the waste is 1/3 of it. I'm sure this is, I mean, you know much more. I'm sure this could be much more reduced, but at least in a grass-finished or in a grass-fed, maybe not grass-finished, is very different than the typical CAFO meat. It's much less waste, much less waste.
Yes, I know that. It's only that they try to make the poor livestock look bad when it's not true. It depends on how you manage them mostly.
Absolutely. And we got to this pseudo meat. This pseudo meat, pseudo food, it's, for me, it's the beginning of the end. And this is just the wrongest of the wrong, to say it somehow. This is what is going to be driving the environmental devastation, which is already is. You know about that. This is very inflaming metabolically. This is oxidative vegetable oils. Once, if you get this Beyond Burger and if you get this Impossible Burger, there are even much more brands, and it will be just a trend because Bill Gates is behind of this. So and just driven it. So there's a lot of money in this, and but this is oxidated and burnt vegetable oils in every single one, because you have soy or you have safflower or sunflower oils in it. Just to
so
make
people consuming that will get, eventually they will not be as healthy.
Yeah, in the midterm, you won't be as healthy. And in the long term, you will be sick. 1000% sure.
And they are believing that by doing that, they protect the lives of livestock, when in truth, they kill many more lives of smaller animals that live in the soil, in agricultural lands. And by all the chemicals they use to produce that, they degrade the environment. And so it's really not true that you're saving life, you're killing more life and endangering all of us.
Absolutely. I mean, you might not be killing big mammals or grazing or cattle animals, but you are killing a lot of smaller mammals and an extremely immense amount of insects. And,
yeah, just look at that. There are no more insects anymore. I drive on my car and I don't have the windshield full of insects as before when I was younger. Why is that? Insecticides, fungicides, herbicides, all the I's we need to take out of the equation. We need to learn and be creative how to produce without them. And I've been devoted my life to that, and we've been having success worldwide. So it can be done.
Absolutely. And just to say it fast, soybeans, if you eat soy-based meats or this pseudo food, you will produce like 2 in greenhouse. Right? It's a 2 point. If you eat a regenerative graze, and this was made by White Oak Pastures, which is pretty known in the United States, you are minus 3.5
pounds of carbon per pound of beef.
Exactly.
Great.
Pounds of carbon per pound of product. Exactly. Yeah. So you choose. And it's just, this information won't be put out just out in the public because it's healthy. It's honest health. It's sorry that this is happening, but it will happen at least for 5 or 10 more years until we win this war. This is a magnificent effort to produce this in a very poorly oriented way. It's just, and it's not by accident. This is done intentionally.
It's not a holistic point of view. It's only greed. I know.
Yes. And okay, this is the only one that is not in English, but it's Eat Fat, Get Thin. This is also my biggest sensei, Dr. Mark Hyman. He's a master's. He's a promoter of the not regenerative, the functional medicine. Paul Saladino is the carnivore MD. Mark Chison is also an influencer, a big influencer. This lady was a very incredible lady to meet.
I know her.
Yeah, I got the fortune of knowing her at Health From Within in San Miguel de Allende.
Yeah.
And yeah, she's a butcher, and she just kind of tells you how to butch. So it was fantastic.
I talked to her. I've been with her. Yeah.
I'm sure. I mean, yeah, I'm sure. But this is also a great, great book.
Okay.
And like I always tell the people, you regenerative grazers have the most beautiful, honest, incredible pharmaceutical or pharmacy, natural pharmacy in your cow. You need to use it. You need to learn how to use it and be safe and be healthy yourselves, because it's the greatest pharmacy you can get. Organ meats are the greatest pharmacy. You could heal pretty much everything.
Okay,
So,
now I have heard and I have read this, and it's true, that the Chinese, they treat the patient to keep them healthy. And in Western culture, the doctor makes money when the patient gets sick. So how do you make your money if you're Diego, if your job is to keep them healthy? How can we be healthy through your consult?
exactly by eating. I mean, eating gets to the lowest tips of the roots, the root cause of your health or of your sickness. It's a big percent in your nutrition. So if you ingest high nutrition food, which is regeneratively grazed, the little traduction of that, it's regeneratively grazed animals, beyond organic, is the highest nutrition available in this planet.
And how can someone contact you for a consult or something?
Here, you can have this, well, this is a little of me. You can make your appointment here if you're in Mexico City. I'm in a regenerative and functional medicine clinic, and we do all of this. I do functional nutrition counsel and advice, and longevity medicine, bioidentical hormone replacement, which is bioidentical, not the conventional one, chelation, and all of the regenerative and cell therapy.
And how can we order the blood exam to know if our LDL is small in size or large in size? How can we do that?
You ask for an S as in small, D as in dense, LDL.
Okay,
or an advanced lipid panel. Advanced lipid panel will tell you, hey, I'm a very nurtured way of knowing how is your lipid, really your lipid health, not only your cholesterol, but many other things that are in the lipid molecule, which are definitely important for health.
Okay, so I can call you and make a consult by Zoom, I suppose.
Yeah.
And then you will tell me what to eat and what to change to help me with an ailment.
Absolutely.
And it can be tested on a lab to be sure that we're progressing.
Yeah, or I mean, we monitor it biochemically. Yeah.
For example, for inflammatory, what can be done? What can be tested and to monitor the progress?
The lipid profile,
Okay.
precisely, hepatic profile. So in a blood chemistry, comprehensive blood chemistry, which is 30 to 45 different results, comprehensive metabolic profile, that will tell you your renal health, your hepatic health, and many of the bilirubins and enzymes that are produced in the liver, and your filtration and the metabolism of your of meat, that will tell you, and your lipid profile and some electrolyte profile also. So it tells you a lot. That is a basic. If you get this advanced lipid profile, is beautiful. I mean, the amount of information, and it tells you the oxidized lipids and how much is small and how much is big and buoyant, and really how risk prone are you into the cardiovascular or neurovascular risk. And yeah, I mean, there's many things. It depends on how much you want to invest. Yeah, we talk, and I give you this advice of what is the best with your budget and what to do.
So it's not only preventive, but it's actually to treat.
Yeah, therapeutic. Yeah.
Great. Okay.
It's prophylactic and therapeutic. Yeah.
I like that. And the fact that you have recognized, which most doctors do not, that what you eat is what makes you healthy or not, that totally convinces me. I like that. Thank you very much,
Absolutely.
Diego, for the work you're doing. We need more doctors like you. We need more people actualizing their knowledge and opening their eyes to the truth that we have been blessed with health, and the food we eat will determine the future health of ours and our family.
Absolutely. I mean, I wish my biggest wish is to spread this and to shout this as hard as we can. So I want to thank you massively for this opportunity. I know this will expand, and it was a great, beautiful opportunity for me to be with your audience, and I thank you very much.
Thank you, Diego. And for those of you that do not have the WhatsApp, you can download it on your on your cell phone. It's very easy. Thank you very much for being here with us, and have a great day. Goodbye.
Absolutely.
Could you please put the lib so it's
Yeah. A ver, aquí. Okay. Okay, can you, yeah, aquí, recording.